Пан Володимир.
Dear colleagues, Volodymyr Polyovyi, Deputy Head of the Information Center of the National Security and Defense Council, about the legal status of Russians involved into the conflict in Donbass. Good afternoon, and because of the content of information that I will give, I will be speaking in Russian. Please understand that. The presence of Russians in the conflict in Donbass does not cause any doubts. This way, we have a question: what is the legal status of Russian citizens who are participating in the military actions or who are helping terroristic organizations in Donbass? And this question is important not just from the point of view of assessing the actions of the leadership that sent or assisted Russian citizens to get abroad and to participate in military actions, but also from the point of view of citizens, from the point of view of their status, of the scope of their rights on the territory of other state. Is there a legal basis in general for participation of military forces of Russian Federation abroad? In principle, the military doctrine of Russian Federation envisages such an opportunity in order to defend the citizens of Russia, and that is on the legal basis of Russian Federation in accordance with the international agreements of Russian Federation. The procedure itself envisages the resolution of the President of Russian Federation about participation of armed forces, and the decision for military forces to participate is passed by the Council of Federation, that is the one of the houses of Russian Parliament, in accordance with the Russian Constitution. Such decision was taken away on the 25th of June 2014, and there was no decree, no resolution of the Russian president as to participation of Russian forces in Ukraine. So there are no legal grounds for the presence of Russian forces in the territory of Ukraine. We also looked at the typical contracts of the military servicemen of Russian Federation, which have no indication of the possibility to use them outside Russia without legal grounds for that. The law, federal law of Russian Federation on the status of military servicemen also provides for the status of the servicemen, the main task of who is to defend their motherland inside the motherland, but not participation in the military conflict outside of the motherland. The legal ground, we do not have legal grounds, but the Russian soldiers nevertheless are on the territory of Ukraine. And what does that mean? How could these actions be qualified? There are two options possible. The person is fighting, getting money for that, and then such a person is a mercenary. And the second option is when the soldier exercises the order or fights for the idea, and then it is participation in illegal military formations. The Criminal Code of Russian Federation clarifies the situation where we can find the article 359 on mercenaries. The mercenary is a person that acts with the purpose to get material to get material payment and is not the citizen of the state which participates in military conflict, in our case the citizen of Ukraine. Then there is also not a person who is sent to fulfill official duties. And the crime is both the fact of participation in military actions and the organization or financing of mercenaries, and the under the criminal responsibility fall both the soldiers and those who send them to war. The illegal organization or participation of illegal armed formation. That's Article 208 of the law, and also there's criminal responsibility for setting up the military formation, leading it, and participation in such military formation. There is one important thing that we will mention, that the person that voluntarily stops participating in illegal military formation and the person who gives up the weapons is freed from criminal responsibility, even if in his actions there is no other crime included. The participation in military actions without insignia of Russian army is also considered to be another criminal crime. Article 356 of the Criminal Code of Russian Federation talks about use of prohibited means and methods of waging war. In Russian media, we see information when they say that the soldier went to Ukraine not because there was an order, but at his own initiative, using his own vacation for that. The judicial practice gives us an answer to such situation as well. The thing is, during the vacation, the military, the serviceman does not lose the status of a serviceman with all the consequences and limitations. In particular, the serviceman who goes to vacation has to get permission from his leadership, from his command, in the form of the report. If he goes outside of Russian Federation, for that there is a special order, classified order from the Ministry of Defense dated 31st of July 2006, number 250, classified, which says that the permission to go outside the Russian Federation should be also approved by the Security Service of Russian Federation. If the serviceman goes outside abroad, then again we have two cases. Either he does it because he got the permit from his command, or he lies to his command. In the first case, this is the aggression, because the aggression, in accordance with the resolution of the UN General Assembly, is sending by state on behalf of the state the military bands, groups, irregular forces, or mercenaries who are exercising the acts of use of military force against another state. That is the resolution of UN General Assembly number 3314, dated 14 December 1974. In the second case, this is the military criminal who violates the charter or is the mercenary or participant of illegal armed formation. There are no other options. What does this official status of participant of military action give to the servicemen? Just like there's a discussion in Ukraine about the military who get into the zone of ATO about the status of participant of military actions, which should be given to them. The similar status is defined by Russian legislation. Such privileges are in the laws, provided by the laws, but in principle, why do they need this status? It liberates from criminal responsibility. We need also to mention that the crime and of being mercenary or participation in illegal armed formations is a grave crime, and the term and the person could be persecuted for 10 years, and 10 years is a big time frame. So that means that the Russian leadership should think about the actions of Russians on the territory of another country. Also, the law provides for the status and privileges, and this status and privileges could be inherited by wife and children in case the serviceman dies. The privileges are established in the federal law on the status of military of servicemen, the federal law of Russian Federation on the state social assistance, the federal law on veterans, where among the privileges are pensions and additional payments for military participants of military actions or disabled in the result of military actions. The privileges up to 50% reduction for communal services, special medical assistance, or artificial limbs in case of wound, if the person is wounded, and also the free of charge funeral for the servicemen who were killed in the zone of military actions, and also the law on funeral and says about the same. In the conflict in Donbass, according to our intelligence, about 2,000 citizens of Russian Federation were killed who participated in this conflict in this or that role. The number of wounded, we can approximately say that it could be 8,000 wounded and 2,000 killed. About 10,000 people were already involved into the conflict in Donbass, and just because of the size of Russian Federation, they managed to hide these figures. Where do they hide the Russian wounded? According to our data, that's a military academy named after Kiev in St. Petersburg, military clinical hospital of the Southern Military District in Rostov-na-Donu, military hospital of the military unit 52199 Volgograd, and also military clinical hospital in Yeisk, and also in civilian medical institutions of the above-mentioned settlements. Today we see the trend when the wounded are sent to the closed military area zones of Russian Federation, where they do not allow relatives or journalists to contact them, and in this case they manage to hide the real figures of losses. What should the Russian soldier do if such a soldier is already in Ukraine? He has to report to his command about that fact, this way confirming that he understands that he is executing illegal orders. It's better to do that in the form of written report, fixing that because in accordance to item 2 of Article 42 of the Criminal Code of Russian Federation, in the execution of illegal orders excludes criminal responsibility of a serviceman. In accordance with the above-mentioned articles, the soldier has to immediately make an attempt to leave the territory of Ukraine and go to the military prosecutor's office with the statement about the fact of illegal crossing of the border by his military unit. If he fails to do so, in order to fix the fact of his refusal to exercise illegal orders, the military has to go to the nearest department of the Ministry of Interior, Security Service of Ukraine, and that will be the fact that will free him from criminal responsibility. And in the future, he has to inform his command. I would like to remind the phone number for the call center of Security Service of Ukraine. 0800 501 482. Thank you for listening to my lecture. If you have any questions.
News in English, please.
Understand. Thank you. I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Did the Ukrainian forces get some of these soldiers on holidays? And according to the Ukrainian law, criminal law, ordinary criminal law, could these people be go on trial and be judged by a Ukrainian ordinary court? Because they are anyway breaching, I suppose, a set of criminal laws of a country. Thank you.
Thank you for question. Відповідати буду українською мовою.
I will answer in Ukrainian, of course. Similar crimes. We have Ukrainian criminal courts, and those who will be arrested, those individuals who will be arrested. That's the terminology we use. They will be responsible according to the laws of Ukraine. They will be charged according to the laws of Ukraine for mercenary or participation in illegal armed groups. You asked about Sunday or weekends. After we announced the ceasefire, there were no facts that we don't have information. So, no, excuse me. Security service.
Скажи, что не в микрофон.
Микрофон.
Я зрозумів.
I spoke about that during my briefing. I would like to remind you that Russian military men of the regular armed forces of Russia, they cannot have legal basis, legal grounds to be on the territory of Ukraine without orders of his command. And that command, I mean the President of Russian Federation, and also without the permission from agreeing from National Security Service.
My question is whether Ukrainian forces capture some of these soldiers, regular soldiers. Did they capture them? And as they are breaching the Ukrainian law, ordinary law, are they going to go on trial in an ordinary Ukrainian court because they are breaching ordinary Ukrainian criminal law? Thank you. Even after the ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, Ukraine arrested military men from Russian Federation, and they are subject to responsibility according to laws of Ukraine. At the same time, as we see, there are examples of political decisions about exchange of detainees by both parties. So, in such a way, Russian paratroopers, 10 of them, who were detained in Ukraine in August, because they lost their way in on the territory of Ukraine. That's why they were probably given back to Russia. You don't speak about the status of detained because there is a responsibility for crimes against humanity and massive killings, massive murders, whether they get order or not. They could get a life sentence in Ukraine. If you exchange Russian military men for Ukrainian, could you exchange us for civilians? Because my colleague, the TV journalist from ZK channel, disappeared somewhere there, is missing together with his father. There's no information that their bodies were found. Can they get? Can they be exchanged for military men? And we don't know what happened to them. We know something about military men, but we don't know about civilians. Nobody shows tortures over them. You, in the Security and Defense Council, you remember that you have a special, military men have special status, but there are lots of civilians, and also there are some journalists among hostages. Thank you for your question, but there is no difference in official bodies, and nobody says a difference between military men and citizens who are, because of their profession or because of their who were arrested by Russian mercenaries or by gunmen. The work is coordinated. There is a special center to liberate hostages or missing individuals. That work is coordinated by the security of Ukraine. So you can contact that department in SBU, and also you can send. We gave that information yesterday during our briefing. So on the side of the security service on the website, there is information about the department which is dealing with hostages, detainees, and they are trying to get free independently on profession, nationality, or religion. That work is done. Moninform agency. Troops of Cossacks of Kuban and Rostov as recognition that they are terrorists, because they participate in gangs, and civilians die because of that. They kill civilians, children, women, and military men. There is enough of evidence of military crimes by Russian Federation or citizens or military men of Russian Federation on the territory of Ukraine. They committed enough of crimes. When will you lobby? When there was a decision of UN General Assembly that there is aggression from Russian Federation with elements of military crimes, war crimes, and sanctions like in 1992 in Yugoslavia. As a result, Yugoslavia lost its right to hold to receive soccer cup, and there were sanctions used against Yugoslavia. Let's start with the UN Security Council. It's not a subject which appeals to the UN. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs is working on that, and they sent documents and evidence, and thank you for the correct question. As to that, Donskoy troops, national and other civic groups in Russian Federation, members of those organizations, they participate in conflicts conflict in Donbass, but we speak about the responsibility of physical entities, citizens of Russia who came to Ukraine. You didn't speak about Crimea. Are you working on the legal status? Russians and military men who violate the law of Russia. They consider that to be the territory of Ukraine, of Russia. The second question. Do you have statements to court? Are you planning to start court proceedings about abuses of Russian citizens in Donbass and in Crimea? I plan to start criminal charges against Russian citizens in Crimea and also in Donbass. There was a law about legal status of occupied Crimea, and we can tell you that NSDC opened a special information ground ATO in Crimea. And we speak not only about problems in the east and in Donbass, but also issues related to future of temporarily occupied Crimea. As to the abuse of legislation in Donbass by Russian citizens, we start a criminal charge if we have facts. And information comes to a register of pre-trial investigations. So all cases, all facts that are known to police, even the fact of death of every military man of Ukraine. We spoke that I told you that, informed you that 864 of Ukrainian military men died. And there is a legal justification, or not justification, but legal evidence is collected for every fact of death of Ukrainian military men. A person doesn't use a mic, is not using a mic, so I cannot translate the question. To start a pre-trial case, there is a pre-trial investigation, and it's a special format, and investigation is working on that. Maybe some of those cases are already in the court, and we need just to wait, and then there will be court proceedings will begin. A practical question. Let's imagine theoretically that among Russian military men there could be such who give up weapons and who are smart enough who crosses the border and gives up to Russian authorities, to SBU and or to police. In Russia, they automatically become criminals because they abuse their oath. In Ukraine, they receive the status of detained or prisoners of war. Which status do they have in Ukraine? First of all, military men from Russian military of Russian Federation, they did have the status of detained. If they voluntarily give up to participate in illegal military groups, that is like voluntary refusal to be in those military groups. And during pre-trial investigation, there is a decision, and so they don't have. Then later on the later stage, they will not have the status of detained military men, Russian military men. because of just honor, because of some other considerations, who cannot appeal to Ukrainian state bodies, they can appeal to a person who is who protects human rights and who has a position in Russian Duma, and also they can call military districts, western and the southern. They could call whole hotlines, and they can make a statement and to them, because it's very important fact. It's very important. The fact is important that they understand that they are illegally in Ukraine, and they will not follow illegal orders of the command. So if Russian military man gets to Ukraine and give up to Ukrainian authorities, and at the request of Russia, will they be given back to Russia, or they have a chance to stay in Ukraine? Ukraine is let's say a political refugee. That depends on the will of that military man. They have the right. So whether Ukraine can provide a political asylum to Russian military men, I don't know about such a case, but thank you very much for your question. I have to think about. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention. In 2 minutes we will have next presentation, and we'll